Man, there's some pretty crazy stuff going on right now. And the videos that I've seen today just go to show me how many nasty people we have in this world and how many really good, kind hearted people we have in this world. For the 50 people that I've seen plus making videos that are very positive, trying to help people as much as possible in North Carolina and Tennessee and Georgia and Florida, um, thank you. You've been amazing. But then there have been people that have just been downright nasty, talking about how a lot of these people waited to the last minute. A lot of these people had warnings way ahead of time. Yes, some places didn't, but other places did, and they still chose to be stubborn and stay because that's all they freaking have. After that, they lose everything. So I can understand why people want to stay with what's theirs, what they've taken their whole life to build and grow and come up with. And there's been some really nasty people making videos, and I've just, I want to say stuff. I want to tell them how inconsiderate it is. The fact that I want to tell them how inconsiderate it is, and how they're talking bad about these people, how they're saying they get what they deserve and this is what they asked for, when a lot of these videos were put out before seeing the whole entire towns wiped out. It's absolutely disgusting. Then this morning, I'm sitting at work doing my paperwork for my first vehicle and stuff, scrolling, and a video comes up. There's a father that has a helicopter, a little two-seater helicopter. He calls his son up in the morning and he says, "Hey, you want to jump in this helicopter with me and go rescue people?" And he's like, "Well, basically it's the Christian thing to do, so why not? We need to do it. They need help." So him and his son jump in the helicopter and they go take off. They lift off, they go down river. Or they go down from where they're at. They're cruising along and they see an older couple sitting on a pad where everything else around them has just been washed away. And they can land right where they're at and pick them up one at a time. So what he does is he lands the helicopter. His son jumps out, he jumps out. They put the woman in the helicopter, get her purse and stuff in, strap her in. The father gets back in the helicopter, says, "Stay here with the husband." He goes to take off and drop her off downriver somewhere or down a clearing somewhere where she's safe. And as they're flying, they see some first responders, rescuers, police, whatever, and they drop right in the area where they're at, and they let the woman off in this safe spot. And they said, "Hey, look, we're in the area. We're gonna start rescuing people with you guys." He says, "I'm prior trained police and fire, and I'm here to help. I'm at your disposal." And they said, "Okay, here's our radio frequencies. Here's everything that's going on. Let's get this going." And then right as he's ready to leave and go get back in his helicopter, the assistant fire chief or the fire chief pops up and says, "No, no. How about we put restrictions on the fly zones right now? No, you're not going back where you came from." And he said, "Well, I have to. My co-pilot's there." Mind you, it's his son. And he says, "No, you're not going back there. You're not going to go get that lady. You're in my area. This is my operation." But he's like, "Well, I guess I'm confused. They're police and everything are willing to work with me, and now you show up and you're like, no, you're not helping. I'm clearly a licensed pilot that knows how to do this stuff, and I'm wanting to help you guys and communicate with you guys, and I'm prior trained firefighter and police, so I know the drills. I know what to do. I know how to get in and out of it." No. And he looks over at the two police officers and they step forward. And he says, if you go back where you came from, you're getting arrested." And he says, "Well, I'm going. You're going to have to arrest me." And he says, "Look, you're going to get arrested. You're going to go to jail." So then, I guess he quietly, just agrees to it, gets back in his plane, goes back to where his son was at, obviously, picks his son up and gets out of there. And had to explain to the guy, not knowing if he's going to lose his life or not, on this pad, this little piece of pad made of asphalt or concrete or whatever it was, that, "Hey, I got to pick my son up, but they told me that they're going to take me to jail. If I pick you up and I bring you back there, they're going to take me to jail," they said. And they told me not to touch you, to leave you alone. So he had to get back in his helicopter with his son and fly away. Absolutely disgusting.
Try to help today, and his response was, there's so many messages, I don't think we can't not go help.
Sidham and his son were headed up to Black Mountain. Flight tracking shows no flight restrictions in place Saturday or Sunday morning when Sidham flew through the Lake Lure Gap. But that was all about to change. The Sidhams spotted an older couple waving for help, then landed in what's left of their driveway.
Hey, I want you to let me get in. You step out and go out, help her in, put her bag in the back, get her strapped in. I'm going to take her down, come back. I'll take him, I'll come back, and then I'll get you, okay?
I originally left my son, co-pilot, on the side of the mountain. It was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight in the helicopter to lift back off, so I left my son with the other victim, and I was just going to take one person down at the time, and you could hear me in the video talking through with the victims and with my son what we were going to do.
3 minutes away, Sidham spotted a group of rescuers just down the river. He landed and found someone in charge.
Told him my background experience, law enforcement, firefighting, pilot. He immediately started helping with coordination. He gave me radio frequencies to coordinate with them on, set up a landing area for me to come back with the other victim, and in the middle of the whole conversation and then blocking the road off, I was greeted by the at that time I didn't know, but Lake Lure fire chief or assistant chief maybe, and he shut down the whole operation. So at that point I felt like the conversation wasn't going any further, and again he asked me to leave, and I said, hey, I have no problem getting out of your area. If that's what you want us to do, we'll leave, no issue. At that point I asked him, what was the reason I had to leave them there, and he said, again, you're interfering with my operation. I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested. I said, well, sir, I'm going back to get my co-pilot. I don't know what to tell you. And he said, I'm letting you know. And at that point, he waved for 2 law enforcement officers to come over and told me that again, if I go back up the mountain, I would be arrested.
He flew the 3-minute trip back, picked up his son, and left the woman's husband behind.
I'm sure he was flooded with emotions and trying to rescue other people, and I just felt that it was best at the time to leave. So I did follow his instructions, and I had a conversation with the female victim before I left, apologizing and explaining. She was standing there. She heard the whole conversation, and they were both very, very surprised, very upset. The husband, as I was leaving off of the side of the mountain, at that point separated from his wife, he was upset. I can only imagine.
Sidham and his nearly 1,400 flight hours turned his chopper around and headed back to South Carolina, passing people waving for help along the way.
As I was actually leaving to go back to get my son, the original chief or captain that I spoke to, his crew and himself, they came back over and said, hey man, we can't tell you to go get the victim. We can't even ask you to go get the victim, but we can tell you if you come back with the victim, we'll have you a designated landing spot, and they won't. We'll make sure they don't come over here.
So there was no flight restriction when you went in?
No flight restriction when I went in. It went in place 20 or 30 minutes after the confrontation with Mr.
You feel like that was coincidental, or do you think that was because of what happened?
I don't think it can be coincidental when there has not been one in place the day before doing rescue operations, the night of, the morning of, that took place after our altercation. I think there would have never been a TFR put in place had we not had that conversation. If I had to do it over again, I would have stopped and I would have rescued as many people until they decided they were going to arrest me.
Well, for now, we've chosen not to name that Lake Lure fire official because communications in and out of that town are still difficult. We want to include his side in this story, and if and when he responds to our messages, we will include that.
No, that's not even being human. That's disgusting. That is a disgusting individual that doesn't deserve to be in charge of anybody's lives, anybody's rescue, any town. I've never heard of anything like that. And once you see the destruction of what's happened in these towns, there's no words for it. What a sick individual. Words don't even express how I feel about this situation right now. It just disgusts me that there are people like that are in control, that are in authoritative figures that are that nasty pisses me off. It's bad. Well, guys, I love y'all. Have a great night. I'll have more for you tomorrow. Be blessed.